Thank you. All right, great. Thank you for joining me to talk about Squealer. It was such a fun movie. I had a blast watching it the other day. How did you all get involved in this project?
Well,
Do you want to
yeah,
go?
go for it.
Do you want to do it, Danielle? Or
Okay, I'll start. So Andy and I worked together many, many years ago. We were always threatening to make a movie together, and that went on for quite some time. During those years, he had actually mentioned to me this story about this pig farmer turned serial killer. And so when we started writing together just a few years ago, and just said, okay, what's going to be our first one? I said, remember that amazing story you told me? It had stuck with me for so many years. And that was it. We started putting pen to the paper. We wrote it pretty quick. I think we just started it in 2020 and filmed in 22. So yeah, it was a lightning project.
and I like the idea as well that it was not, it was a story not from 50 years ago or whatever. It was really quite recent that that the real guy Willie Picton was operating. So I like the fact that it was a contemporary, a genuine horror story, really. And there was the fact that he was not doing it for any sexual or financial means or anything else. It was just something he did that obviously turned him on, chopping up people and eventually making sausages out of them. So it's a very disturbing character, but we thought it'd be a perfect character to build a movie around.
Yeah, it's almost like Sweeney Todd-esque, but only in real life.
Yeah, he really was a Sweeney Todd sort of character.
He was. And a part real life. Our story is a bit of a blend of that story, which definitely was a huge inspiration for us. And then we did take quite a bit of liberty to make it our own, in part to be mindful and respectful to the families and the victims, and also to pay homage to the audience, the horror audience. And so it's a bit of a blend of two worlds. And I hope it'll satisfy both the horror genre and the true crime fanatics out there.
Yeah, I think it is a great blend. Because on the one hand, it is very respectful, but it is also this down and dirty. I found it kind of a throwback to like some of my favorite like 70s horror films.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I'm so happy you said
that. So I'm assuming then, question for both y'all, that was intentional, like that's the kind of vibe you were going for.
Yeah, I think you're right. The 70s and even early 80s, there was some really sort of interesting horrors that were sort of thriller horrors that were made, and right before the era of them being massive sort of special effects driven sort of bloodfest things. We wanted to keep everything sort of grounded in reality. And not go into an area that is sort of too ridiculous or fantastical. Everything that he does is completely possible for a human to do to another human, sort of thing. So it's all grounded in reality.
Yes, and I think in general, Andy and I have a bit of an old-fashioned approach to the way that we tell stories and we make movies. This is one that we've done. We have a series of other ones that we've been working on, and I think that is something that we tend to lean into.
Nice. And also I'm so grateful for some really awesome practical effects. I think that they were so amazingly done, and if there was CGI, I feel like I didn't notice it, or it was like blended really well. So was that kind of a challenge, just going back to that sort of like old school, like practical stuff, maybe blended in with maybe a little bit of CGI?
It was really more of a mindset than anything else. I mean, having done so much action over the years, I've I've um, I've been able to witness CGI being, in my opinion, wrongly used for the wrong things, and overly used, so that you're aware of watching a movie that just is CGI tricks, and you lose a certain personal relationship then, because it just becomes a computer generated thing. And so we really designed all the action and bits and pieces that happened so that they could be happening sort of in camera, because I think it's in some ways it's an homage to those movies that pre CGI, but there's actually, I don't think there's any CG in the whole picture actually.
There's just a bit of enhancement here and there, but very little.
Yeah, just
I know
just
one of the, working with Andy, the word that comes up over and over and over for us again, and this is so important to him, is authenticity. And I think that's really what that comes down to. The more you can do it practical, I think the more authentic of a feel it has on screen.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of my biggest pet peeves, I think, is CGI blood, because I feel like blood is one of the most inexpensive effects. But yeah, no, I loved how it was all practical. Again, it had that amazing kind of 70s grimy vibe. So Andy, what was it like making the leap from directing stunts to directing a feature film?
It's something. I mean, I've directed for a long time. I've directed sort of action stuff, and I actually directed a movie 20 something years ago, but I went back to doing action because quite frankly, because it was more lucrative. But I even the action stuff I've done, I've always tried to bring a certain level of authenticity to it, whether it's Spider-Man swinging or Thor throwing a hammer or whatever. I believe that there's a thing, a code that we sort of have to obey, which is, we loosely call it the five-legged horse syndrome, in that even if you'd never seen a horse in your life, if you saw one standing in a field with 5 legs, you know that it's not, something's not correct. And so I like to base all action on some grounded reality, because I think that's the only value system you have to sort of judge it. So it's always been a sort of my style to want to do things as real and as genuinely as possible. And so it was a very simple transition to this picture, because we had such wonderful cast, and they sometimes I felt I didn't have to do any directing really. It was just that these fantastic people turned up, and they knew their character inside out, and they had each character was 3-dimensional to them, and they owned those characters, and I think it was wonderful. So for me, it was a tremendously fulfilling thing to happen. Very satisfying.
Nice. I'm really not talking about actors, but I mean, in a way, like the pigs were kind of also some co-stars. What was that like? I'm assuming they had a guy that sort of corralled them and
had a pig wrangler. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
We had a pig wrangler, and working with animals, they always say working with kids and animals is like something to try to avoid when you're writing a script. And that's for a reason. But personally, I loved having all the animals on set. It was amazing. And it was a very exciting day when the pigs showed up. Everybody was very, very excited. And as mean as they might look on screen, they were actually really cute and sweet.
Yeah.
It was, I think, a challenge. We did have a bit of a challenge on one of the scenes, trying to get them to be mean. So yeah, we had.
They're very intelligent pigs.
Fun with the animals.
They're as intelligent as dogs, and so it's they're fascinating to work with them, really, because they really are very bright, and they sort of understand what's going on. Yeah, there's there's I'm very glad though that you picked up on the sort of feel of the pit, you know, of the picture, and the sort of thinly veiled vintageness of the style, really. And I think, as Danielle said, that's the type of pictures that we like. So I guess we've just naturally gone into those to make them.
Yeah, I love the just the whole overall like feeling and vibe. I love like even in the daytime, you know, you can make it feel so oppressive and like almost like anxiety inducing. And I think anytime a filmmaker can kind of do that, especially, you know, in like daylight scenes, you know, with night, you know, like, I mean, night's creepy, but when you can really make like the daytime feel very overwhelming, I think
I appreciate that so much, because honestly, when we wrote the script, we had a lot more night scenes, and Andy came to me very close to when we were shooting and said he wanted to change a lot of it to daytime, and I was nervous about it. And he said exactly that. He said, I think some of this will be more terrifying that it's during the day. And he was right. So yeah, that was kind of a last minute decision. And I feel like it works. So I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, absolutely. So I need to wrap it up, but do you all plan on working together again on another project?
Absolutely.
Which would be awesome.
We've been developing a few things, so we're hoping this will give us the opportunity to do some more. We have quite a few other projects that are quite action packed, so we'll see what we get to do next.
Ooh, nice. All right. Oh, real quick, before I have to let you all go, Danielle, I love your podcast. I was listening to it.
Wow.
So now I have it like when I go to the gym, like that's going to be my like go-to listen to. So I will link that in the description so y'all can check that out as well. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for joining me to talk about this really awesome film again. Y'all should check it out. I'll link everything you need to know about when it comes out in the description.
Thanks for your time, for having us.
Thank you for getting it.
Absolutely.